In the meantime here, let's get into all of these political headlines with our friend there at 24 Sight. Tom LoBianco, he joins me. Tom, thanks for being with us. And it's getting so busy here. And let's talk about this piece in The Atlantic by Jeffrey Goldberg. Jeffrey Goldberg's the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. And it's getting a lot of attention, obviously. Would you characterize it as a October surprise or not? He's quoting John Kelly. Kelly was one of Donald Trump's chiefs of staff there at the White House during the Trump administration. And we know since Trump left office, he and Kelly have not always seen eye to eye. Kelly going on the record, though, to say that Donald Trump said these things, particularly about, how he would approach the military, how would he approach warfare strategy, and talking about veterans and those who served here. Is it going to matter in the long run here, or is this just Trump being Trump? Is this already baked in when voters think about the former president?
Well, what's important there, and you mentioned it just a second ago, is John Kelly going on the record with it. And I think that that's really important because very often Trump's deflections and defense against so many of these stories, which we often find out later to be true, either in testimony or through on the record statements. Previously he would argue that it's, anonymous sources and you can't trust those anonymous sources. But Kelly stepping out from behind the protection of being a blind source and saying it on the record is really important. Now, does it move the numbers? My guess is it doesn't change votes, but it has the potential to turn out votes, especially depending upon how the Harris campaign and, especially some of the Never Trump crowd among the conservatives, Liz Cheney, how they decide to use it. We've talked about this before. Remember that it's not automatic that somebody who is a lifelong Goldwater Reagan conservative will automatically vote for Harris just because of what happened on January 6th and because of Trump's as noted here, fascist sounding rhetoric, but because they could stay home. And the Harris challenge for Harris and Walz in particular is they tried to build a new Democratic Party coalition or whatever, the pro-democracy coalition, however you want to call it, is to get those long-running conservatives to show up and vote for them. And that's not guaranteed. So I think in that sense, it could have an impact, depending on how the campaign plays it.
But Tom, the timing of this piece there in The Atlantic, some supporters and acolytes of the former president are calling it a hit job this close to the election here. I just want to go over some of the comments that Kelly is quoted as saying, and not only in The Atlantic, but also in a piece in the New York Times. In The Atlantic, Kelly recalled that when Trump raised the idea of needing, quote, German generals, Kelly would ask if he meant Bismarck's generals, referring to Otto von Bismarck, the chancellor who oversaw the unification of Germany. Surely you can't mean Hitler's generals, Kelly recalled asking Trump, to which Trump responded, yeah. Hitler's generals here. And so we're getting a lot of comments in about this as well. There were some other anecdotes in the Atlantic piece we can get into here, but, will Trump survive this as he always does? I mean, he's not known as Teflon Don for no reason.
Right. Well, it's a couple of things there. I mean, look, Trump's messaging this campaign, more than his previous two presidential races, has been, whether he realizes it or not, he sounds like what you would consider to be a classic fascist of about 80 to 90 years ago in the run-up to World War II. And that's how he has been talking, saying things like immigrants allegedly poisoning the blood and soil of America, talking about wanting to lock up his political opponents and people that he disagrees with. That has been a consistent message of his in this cycle. Now, does he realize that? I don't know. And you kind of got the sense, and you've seen, remember back during the Trump administration when Kelly was in there, Mike Pence was in there, a lot of what we used to call the adults in the room, they would try to put up guardrails. And as you noted there, I mean, look, Kelly is like, well, okay, maybe you must be talking about Bismarck. surely you're not talking about Hitler. Um, I don't know where Trump gets this from,
Okay.
but he keeps saying it.
So in the New York Times, Kelly was quoted as saying he commented more than once that, quote, you know, Hitler did some good things too. There was also an anecdote there in the Atlantic's piece about, you know, the conversations surrounding the death, the murder, and the burial of Vanessa Guillen there in Texas. And I just want to put this up as well, because we have some of these tweets from Mark Meadows kind of downplaying, denying that, you know, this was said by former President Donald Trump. Not that the conversations took place. They're not denying that, but that the particulars of the conversations took place here. But if we could route in some of those tweets, we can show them to you. But to your point, John Kelly going on the record for the first time, not going as far as saying that he's going to vote for Harris or endorse Harris, but just going on the record for the first time. But then some people in Trump's inner orbit from those days in the Trump White House who haven't spoken out, feeling the need to speak out.
Yeah, you know, again, really remarkable. I think it plays more on the center right, center left side of things. I'm not sure it plays with the Trump MAGA coalition, the populist coalition, the populist right. So let's see. I mean, look, does the Harris campaign try to take it to a next step? And you know, my colleague Patrick Finkston and I have been talking about this recently on the Ground Game podcast. He's a never Trump conservative, but he's also not sold on voting for Harris, which I thought was very interesting. And he was saying, or he was telling me earlier that he would like to see whether John Kelly will show up in ads, will start doing interviews, will appear in front of cameras to press this case. And I think if he does that, it could potentially have an impact. If he doesn't do it, I think what you're seeing is this is kind of it's a permission structure, but not very forceful. So again, I mean, it could become an October surprise depending upon how they all play it.
Okay, I want to bring up this. This is what I was referring to. This is from Mark Meadows. He said, I was in the discussions featured in the Atlantic's latest hit piece against President Trump. He says, let me say this. Any suggestion that President Trump disparaged Ms. Guillen or refused to pay for her funeral expenses is absolutely false. He was nothing but kind, gracious, and wanted to make sure that the military and the U.S. government did right by Vanessa Guillen and her family there. Also from former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence there, Nick Ayers saying, I've avoided commenting on intra-staff leaks or rumors or even lies as it relates to my time at the White House. But General Kelly's comments regarding President Trump are too egregious to ignore. He says, I was with each of them more than most, and his commentary is, quote unquote, patently false, Nick Ayers saying there. Back out live to our shot. We're waiting for former President Donald Trump to take the stage at this Turning Point USA rally there in Duluth, Georgia here. Tom, let's move on from that topic because you had quite the scoop today about some of these billionaires who have gotten themselves involved in the race. I'm talking about, for Republicans, Elon Musk. And we know Elon Musk is doling out money to the tune of $1 million to specific voters, solitary voters, to get them to register to vote, to get them to the polls here. You have in your reporting, Tom, this. The Justice Department's head of election crimes sent a warning letter to Elon Musk's America PAC on Monday, alerting it that it was a crime to knowingly offer anything of value to register to vote or vote here. Can you go into some of your reporting here? I want to put this up. There you have it on 24 Site Scoop. The DOJ sends Musk PAC a warning letter. What's the purpose of a warning letter? Is it just a warning or is there action?
It's a dance between the Justice Department and Elon Musk. It's not unlike what Comey was doing at the end of former FBI Director James Comey was doing at the end of the 2016 election. I'll tell you, as I was reporting this story and nailing it down, I was actually very surprised how little either side wanted to talk about it. The DOJ or the Musk, the America PAC, which is largely run by the old Ron DeSantis super PAC operation. I thought that was very fascinating and very telling that neither side wanted it out there. It gives to me as a reporter, it gives a sense of severity, of seriousness. Now in the letter, this is from DOJ's Election Crimes Branch, which is a subsection of the Public Integrity Unit, which investigates political corruption. Uh, they float potential penalties for Musk's super PAC, and to give a sense of what could happen if you violate the voting laws, which say you're not allowed to pay to influence votes, you're not allowed to pay to sway people to vote one way or to register to vote, and that's how they characterize it. Regarding Musk's continuing petition, trying to get people to sign up to register to vote, bring friends to register to vote in one of the 7 battleground states,
Yeah.
to enter a veritable sweepstakes to maybe win $1 million. Now, of course, Musk's America PAC says that's not the case, that they vetted it. This is all completely legal.
Yeah. What is Musk saying, Tom? Has he responded to this?
No, I haven't. I have not seen Musk respond to this directly yet. And I'll tell you that previously, so in the past couple of days when they started handing out these checks, looks like the old home sweepstakes where they'd bring all the balloons and the giant check. They've been doing that, and he's been touting it.
All right. Looks like we might have lost Tom LoBianco there. Oh no, we have him back. Tom, your feed froze for just a moment there. We have you back. Okay.
There we go. Okay. Yeah. So, Musk has been saying, as he holds up these gigantic checks for winners of this veritable sweepstakes, has been saying that, look, this is kosher. His team is saying it's kosher. You have a number of election law experts like Rick Hasson saying, well, no, this clearly violates election law. I thought it was very interesting that in the letter, the warning letter from the Justice Department, they don't say that they're going to prosecute. They don't say that they're seeking charges. There's no indication there. To me, it read more like a brushback pitch, like a warning.
Tom, though, what's the Trump campaign saying? Obviously, Musk is doing this in conjunction with the campaign or independent from the campaign here. Are they interrelated or no? Is this Musk completely separate here? And if so, has the Trump campaign weighed in on this?
Well, technically a super PAC, which is, what Musk is operating here, illegally is not allowed to coordinate with the campaign. Now, I'll tell you, I've heard some, from some of my Trump world sources on this. One initial read was, okay, this is the Justice Department being weaponized, continuing the weaponization to go after somebody because they support Trump. Now, when I talk with some of my other Trump world sources, I've heard, Musk really screwed that up. And that's why they're getting this brushback pitch. Hard to tell just now, but to me, it reads like somebody, and we've seen this before in Silicon Valley when kind of the tech billionaires, whether it's Zuckerberg or Peter Thiel or or Musk, they enter politics for the first time. It's often very shaky the first time they get into politics. They have a lot of veteran political operators around them, but especially for Musk, as somebody who makes these declarations on public with zero vetting, he'll just say things on Twitter or X.com now that he owns it. A lot of times those are things that he just says outright, and they have not been vetted. So this could be a potential violation. It could cause some problems. I don't think it's going to derail his efforts here,
right?
But it could lead to some legal troubles later.
All right, we'll just have to wait and see. Tom, while we have you, just briefly, we are in the final stretch. You just keep hearing the final sprint, the home stretch, whatever you want to call it. It's 12 days out. And we're hearing from the campaigns what their closing messages are going to be. The Trump campaign taking their closing message to Madison Square Garden very, very soon here, where a big rally will be held. We got a better sense of what the Harris camp is going to be doing, though, for their closing message. And you and I have talked about how January 6th features pretty prominently in this election here. And this just illustrates this point here. Joy Garrison at the USA Today saying, Harris will give a closing argument address next Tuesday in Washington on the ellipse. the site of Donald Trump's speech before the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. And Tom, I'm going to ask you this again. I know I've asked you it before. I mean, why do Democrats think January 6th is such a potent issue 3.5 years on? Do they think it can redound to their electoral benefit here? Obviously, we saw Liz Cheney with Harris a couple of days ago in some of these blue wall states. She served on the select committee investigating January 6th. Because remember, Biden really hammered this home when he was the nominee, threats to democracy with former President Trump. And it seemed like Harris was steering away from that when she became the nominee. Are they back here? Threats to democracy?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you listen to what Trump has said he wants to do, it certainly sounds that way. You say he wants more control over the Justice Department, removing Nixon-era controls that were put in place to make sure that the justice operates more independently from the executive. So, I mean, that's certainly how he's talking. I mean, to the power of January 6th, I think it's seared into the minds of a lot of voters, certainly in the majority of this country, in a way like few other events. I mean, things have been, we've been talking about this extensively all year. It's just seared into their brains. So much has happened this year. Sitting president of the United States, Joe Biden, just has a disastrous debate performance, drops out, and now we have Kamala Harris that basically gets anointed to run. But January 6th is a singular moment in history. And I don't think it sways any MAGA voters. I don't think that it sways any, the hardcore Trump supporters. This is more focused on, what, a couple months ago, we would have called Nikki Haley voters, people who were casting protest votes late into the primary, even after she had long dropped out. Now, does that work? I don't know if it works.
Okay.
But that certainly seems to be
whether or not it's going to work, because, these aren't independents. These are Republicans disaffected by some of the actions during the Trump administration and thereafter the 2020 election. So anyway, we have so many questions. I'm sure we'll be speaking in the next 12 days. Tom LoBianco there at 24 Site. Tom, thanks so much.